and down below the house. But Mom never would let us go down there until we got all the chores done, all the ironing, all the sweeping and mopping and everything. And once a week we had something we had to do, like wash windows because it was so dusty before they put the road in. And they never did get it back in until, get the road through there until I was already married and gone.
What happened to the old schoolhouse?
Well, the old schoolhouse was torn down. And my cousin and my uncle, Joe Garrett, built her a house out of the old schoolhouse. They consolidated them all and they sent them all to Jonesville, Virginia. And of course, I had been out of school for a few years then, so I didn't start back. Cotton's the only one that went down there, and he went a couple of years and he quit. And we all thought he was a fool for doing that, but he didn't like it down there, so he quit. And so that's the story on that. And my dad ran a sawmill, and my dad's brother had a sawmill, and he used to come out there, and they used to get in an argument about who made the most money or who cut the most timber. My dad and him, they cut lumber to build houses. And Uncle Jim never tied his shoes. He wore lace-up shoes, but he never tied them. And he'd walk out of that house, and he'd be so mad at my dad. They'd be so mad because one had got down the other, arguing. And he'd go home, but it wouldn't be a few days, he'd be right back. And one of Dad's brothers, he sold wire products, and he couldn't hear very good, and he wore a hat. And I've always heard people say tied his Dick's hat then. Well, his name was Richard. We all called him Uncle Dick. And I thought maybe that come from Dad. I don't know. But we always said that so-and-so is tighter than Dick's hat then. But my dad did. We had plenty to eat when my dad was alive. Because he had a grist mill. We ground our own. He ground people's corn and make the flour and stuff for us, and he'd take out for us for doing it for them. He never charged them anything. He just took it out what we needed, for us, the family, make cornbread and biscuits out of it. And Dad did every once in a while. My dad would go to the store and he would get there was 11 of us, and I hated bananas. And he'd get a big old stalk. They come in stalks back then. You don't get them in bunches like we do today. And I hated bananas, but I would eat that banana, and I would almost choke to death because that was my banana, and my dad had got it for me. And I would eat it and just choke and gag and do everything, but Cotton and Wink would beg me for it, and I said, no, that's my banana. Daddy got that for me. And I would eat it, but I'd have a hard time.
Getting back to school and things like that, how far were you able to get?
Well, I got up to almost 8th grade.
Almost 8th grade.
Well, I was through the 7th going into 8th grade.
Right. And how far did that school go? It just went to about 8 then, or something like that?
It went to, I think it went to 7th grade.
Okay, so you went really as far as you could.
In a 2-room school, yeah.
In a 2-room schoolhouse. Do you remember any fads during your youth that, I remember on Dad's tape he talked about how that the young boys, they'd slick their hair back.
Oh yeah,
and they'd the cuffs on their.
Yeah, they wanted to look like Elvis Presley, and they would slick that hair back like he did, and kind of pooch it up in the front, and like Elvis did, and then they'd take that collar of their shirt and they'd put it up, Mm-hmm. And Roy Hall, a friend of theirs, lived out from us. He would sing Elvis's songs, and he'd get up and he could sing just like him, and he would act like he was playing just like him. And he all kept us all laughing and, and everything doing that, but he could sing it just like Elvis Presley. And every time he went out to the house, he did that.
Do you remember anything about dating?
Well, several boys I dated, but a lot of boys, if you're a nice person or a good girl, they don't want to fool with you. It's just nice nice boys that come from nice families that went with a little bit, not much. I never did go with that too much. Didn't. I mean, I wasn't even interested in it really. I was too busy carrying water.
Okay. Can you tell how you, or anything related to how you met my dad and your husband? Can you remember the first time you met, or some of the things that occurred during that time?
One summer, Maddie and Clyde and Opal come in on vacation, and Jean come with them. So we were going somewhere that night. My sister Laura, that lives in Indiana, Laureen, we all call her Laura. She thought that Jean wanted to be with her, and she says, I ain't going with him. He's the ugliest person I ever seen. And I said, well, he might be ugly, but I guess I'll have to kind of keep him company when the boys are not around, because he has come in with them, on vacation. He needs somebody to talk to and everything. He used to bring his ukulele down there. First time he ever met me, he come down there it was on Christmas, and they come on Christmas, he brought me a watch. First watch ever on my life. And he brought me a real pretty watch. And Byron come with him, and he bought an old gal that he was going with, Betty Thorpe, her name. He bought her a watch. And it's a shame that Byron didn't, him and her didn't get together and get married, because Byron married a woman that nobody liked her much. She just headstrong.
Mm-hmm.
They had 2 little boys.
How long did you know my dad before you two got married?
We went together off and on 7 years. He come in every weekend. Him and Charles, my oldest brother, would come from Michigan, and they would come in every weekend. And he was going with Shirley Bergen, when he married, really married.
Mm-hmm.
And they would come in every weekend, and he never come in the same car. In 7 years I went with him, he never come twice in the same vehicle. Every time he come in a different car. And people would say, who's that car coming out the road? And I said, that's Gene, because he never comes in the same car twice. And it would be. And Charles.
Can you tell us anything about the wedding proposal? You remember anything about that?
He went on in service, and he came in on a furlough, and we were supposed to get married in October. I believe it was. We got married in October, wasn't it? It was December we were supposed to get married. We got married in October 20th. And he proposed to me, I think, going out the back door, and then I think we went to Jonesville, but we always had somebody with us. Nobody was, well alone much at all. And we went down to the park, and he showed me the wedding rings he bought on base at the VX. And he gave them to me to keep. So he come back, and we got married October the 20th.
Do you remember anything about the wedding ceremony, where it was at, stuff like that?
It was at, we had an old building, and they had torn it down, and they built a new church. The church was up Promiseville ways. The schoolhouse was across the fence to go to the schoolhouse. We was in between the church and the schoolhouse. So the church, we were the first ones to get married in that new church. But there was a girl that lived in the community who wanted to be the first one to get married in that church. And I told her, when I'd seen her downtown, and I told her, I said, if you want to get married, be the first one to get married in that new church at Miller's Chapel, you're going to have to get married before 2 o'clock this afternoon, because that's when I'm getting married. And she kind of got a little bit sad about it, but I guess she got over it. I don't know. Because like I said, we lived.
As far as a honeymoon or anything like that, you went right off to, what was it, South Dakota? Is that where you went? Or?
We went to Michigan first.
Okay.
And I want to state this too. A friend of theirs had me a shower down home, and I got several things because we didn't even have a dish rag or nothing. And we got several things down home, and we had to get one of them little U-Haul things pulled behind us, to take the stuff from Michigan. But we got all of it in the trunk and the back seat of what we got down home. But that we didn't have a honeymoon really. It was just Michigan to South Dakota, and I thought we'd never get there. It took, I guess, 3 days or something, or longer. And I thought we'd never get there, and we did. It was snowing around October 20th. It was after October 20th, about a week or two after that. Yes, we went to South Dakota.
Yeah. Although he's over there and listening, the next question is, how would you describe your spouse, and what do you admire most about them?
Well, it's always been loyal. I'll have to say he's been good and true to me, and I admire him for that. He's always been there for me when I needed him.
And how long have you two been married?
100 years.
40 years.
40? All right. And
some good times and some bad times.